Welcome back. This is the Brain Juice Podcast, where a man and wife sit down once a week to kind of talk about the things that are going on in their lives and any interesting thing that happens around them. I'm one of your hosts, Corey, and I am here with my wife. Beautiful, lovely wife.
Erin.
I was going to try to change it up, then I paused in the middle of it. It was no good.
I was going to say, you could also say, this is a podcast where man and woman talk about blah, 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 instead of man and wife.
Did I say man and wife? I usually try to say husband and wife.
Oh,
because I don't like man and wife. Man and wife has like a connotation of like, I'm the man and she's my wife. So she does everything I ask her to do, which that is, I mean, nowhere. That's completely false.
It is not completely false. But anyway, continue the intro.
That was the intro. Oh, no, it's not the intro. And if you want to get a hold of us at any time, you can email us at
thebrainjuicepodcast@gmail.com.
God, I love drinking a beer. And, of course, you can always follow us on Facebook.com/thebrainjuicepodcast, where we do our announcements and we put any kind of like form and things like that if you guys want to chime in on whatever we're talking about. So, at that, we're going to actually start off, and Erin's going to kind of host today because I don't have any of the topics. She's going to have to do all the transitions.
Oh, well.
Well, you think it sounds like a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. No, it is a good thing.
Okay.
First transition.
Yeah.
So, we've, over this past 5 months, how long have we been doing this now?
How long have we been doing podcasts? Well, this is, I believe, the 27th or 8th episode that we've done.
Oh, okay. So, that could almost be like 6 months. So, during that time, we constantly talk about goals that we're setting for ourselves and projects that we want to work on and things that we're doing. And one thing that I was really hoping to make some strides in while I was on maternity leave was editing my essays and working on some short stories and stuff. But now that I'm a month in on this maternity leave, yes, I have had some time to write. But then I also have this other stuff creeping back in. Things that have always kind of crept in whenever I've been trying to work on projects.
Right.
Like procrastination and continuously starting things but never finishing. Because I was going through my Google Docs the other day and I have like 1 million documents of things that I've started and things that I've never finished. And I was really thinking about it last week when I was reading Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, which is a book about writing and life and all these lessons and stuff that she has. Anyway, really good, quick read. But in it, one of the chapters is, it's important to finish the things that you start. And so then I look at these Google Docs and I'm like, shit, I've already failed. I'm so bad at finishing things. So I'm really trying to focus on, rather than starting new projects.
Right, which we've already started 2 new ones.
Right. Finish this one short story that I'm working on and then finish editing 2 essays before I go back to work.
Good.
Which seems like a good goal. Yeah. But then it makes me start thinking about, well, why am I so bad at finishing things? And are other people equally bad at finishing things? Or am I in a category of my own?
I mean, I'm 100% bad at finishing things.
Yeah.
The first like real thing that I finished, I feel like, other than like high school, but you kind of have to because you're like state mandated to go, is college.
You don't have to finish high school. No, you don't. You don't even have to get a GED. You can just drop out and be done.
You are correct.
Lots of people do that all the time.
You are correct. My bad.
So you're considering like finishing school a project that you started that you finished.
Yes.
Is that okay? Because that seems way more important than the projects that I'm talking about.
But more importantly, finishing college, because I had a couple of false starts.
Yeah.
I had 2 false starts, and then I finally got a good leeway on getting actually done with college at that time.
But okay, so again, like, that is so much more important than the piddly little projects that I'm talking about.
No, but...
like, what are...
Well, how do you... I mean...
Do you have little, like, things that...
Yes, absolutely.
Just in your life right now that you want to finish, but you're having trouble finishing, or you habitually are terrible at finishing things that you start, or just, I don't know, okay. What were some of these things?
So
not as important as college.
The one, wrong. But one of them is I have a board game that is on. I mean, It's there. It's 98% of the way done. The game is made. The assets are made. It just needs to get through the final little bit, which is getting the Kickstarter stuff together, getting copies out for review, which if we get any pre-copies from the manufacturer, it's an outlandish number to do that, so we're not going to do that. But we just need to figure it out. And there's a lot of things, contributing factors of why that's taking so long to do. But it's coming to the point where I've spent 4 years on it now.
Has it been 4 years?
Well, it was my graduating project from college.
Did you graduate 4 years ago?
2016, and I worked on it the year before.
Okay, so 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, about 4 years. And so it's one of those deals where I'm coming up on it, and it's just kind of sitting there. And, I've started it. I want to finish it, but there's some hurdles in the way, and I'm trying to figure out those hurdles. Mm-hmm. But I've also started 2 other games, but at this point, I'm so soured on it that I know there's other things I need to finish that are more important than those.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is a hobby. It's not a job, right? And other things I'm doing may lead to jobs.
But you put so much time into it already. Isn't it just important to you to finish it at this point as a thing to just close, just be like, I'm done with this?
Maybe. But maybe on my own terms.
Yeah.
That's been something I've been considering, just kind of just doing it on my own and finishing it myself and being done with it. And,
yeah.
But I mean, I've got one other project for sure that's more important than this.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of external factors that are playing into what's going on. I want to finish it.
Yeah.
I need to finish it.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen this year. Realistically. At this point, for how slow it's been going, it's just not going to happen this year.
Well, some of the things that you just said, that there are other projects that are more important to you to finish and things like that. Those are some of the reasons that I found in doing research for this.
Yeah, you did some research?
Yeah. That people commonly come up with as reasons to not finish something. And at least for me, I know when it comes to some of these writing projects, I get started, I start strong, I'll write on something for a few weeks, and then I get stuck, and I don't force myself to keep going. Because the thing is, especially with writing, when you can't think of what the next thing is that happens, you just sit down every day anyway, and you just write anything. Whether it's like how much you hate what you're doing or you just don't know what comes next, but it's just part of like building the habit. Your brain, eventually your subconscious will just kind of open up a lot easier at that point.
That happens to me in the middle of the night when I can't fall back asleep.
Yeah. So, but then also with anything too, I have a tendency to ruminate on things and I procrastinate. And if I get to that point where I stop in the middle of doing something, I just think about how dumb it is and how cliched it is. And the thing is, too, it's like, this is just the first draft, or this is just the preliminary step to whatever, right. And this is not the end product that would go out or that other people would see. So it's important to keep that in mind. But I always go to like a negative rumination place. And then it's like, if I can't do this perfectly in the first draft, then I might as well just not do it, and then I go start something else. So I just have all of that stuff in my Google Docs that I just need to go delete because I'm just not going to go back to it.
No, I think deleting is the wrong answer, though, right?
Well, no, because some of those things I am just not going to go back to. Because it's also important to recognize sometimes you have projects that you just know it's over, it's done.
But are any of the ideas salvageable?
No.
Nothing?
They're not things that I want to keep working on. They're not things that I even think about anymore that I care about.
No, but that's fine. But I mean, I'm just saying you've done work. It doesn't hurt to make a folder of, like, so this is something that I think I've already talked to you about. Something a writer, Mark Bernard, does, right? He has several folders. They are like, here's a folder full of just the ideas that made it just maybe a page or two into him writing. Here's one that has outlines. here's ones that I've written full all the way but aren't edited. And here are projects that are fully done. He keeps everything he does because he doesn't know if he'll ever get the idea of going back to it, because it's not bad. It's not bad to hold on to it, even if... Because there could be some good ideas in there. It may be worth, once a year going back through. I was like, what was I doing here? And then reading through, and you could have an epiphany or something.
No, I get that. And I think that is good for some things. But for a lot of the stuff that I have, a lot of the stuff that I kept was the beginning of a piece that I thought I was going to put in my application for grad school. Yeah. Which is just so awful, and I have better versions of it in other places. Okay. So I'm going to delete the bad versions and get rid of it.
Okay, in that case.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I know that I'm not going to finish that particular project.
Well, I didn't know you had different renditions of that.
Oh, yeah, no. So knowing when something is not going to work, cut your losses and go move on to something else. But Fast Company has an article about what's this called? Oh, sorry. I'm also holding Perrin at the same time.
Perrin was very upset that he was not eating.
Okay. So the article is called "Why You Can Never Finish Anything and How to Finally Change It." So it's a good one. I'm gonna skip ahead to why you aren't finishing your projects.
Okay.
So they list fear of failing to impress, fear of setting the bar too high, not wanting to put an end to the fun, as reasons why people commonly don't finish projects they start. Mm-hmm. Which I do identify with, setting the bar too high and failing to impress. But here are some suggestions that they have for how to finish the projects. And it's stop ruminating over the negatives. Which is, that's just somehow that's just ingrained in my DNA. I don't even know how I got started doing that, but from a very young age, I always ruminated on the negatives. So I'm hoping, I don't pass that on genetically somehow to Perrin. I don't want him to ruminate on the negatives.
No, I don't, that's not really I don't feel like that's a genetic thing, right? That's a learned trait, right? So fear of failing, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people quit, stop, right? That's me, right? 100% all the time. I'm afraid of failing or afraid of succeeding. One or the other, right? You don't want to fail. If you don't try hard, you don't fail. You don't feel like shit.
Right.
If you do well, you don't know how to handle it, right? You're like, I've never gotten to this point. I'm kind of freaking out. What do I do? I think they're both kind of one and the same, where you just kind of have to try to figure it out, and it's hard. Mm-hmm. I get it. That's definitely for me, 100%.
So it's just stop doing that. Wait, no.
Stop it. Fucking stop.
Just don't do it. Being a perfectionist is no excuse, is what they have listed as number 2. Because for a lot of people, I definitely identify with that. If I can't do it right the first time, then I might as well just not do it at all. Stupid. Such a stupid idea.
Right. And for me, it's definitely something I've learned over the last, 10 years probably. Mm-hmm. Realistically, fixing this is fixing something that you grew up with, right? Mm-hmm. Whether one way of, your parents, they never told you you were good enough, right? That's one of those statements we always say.
Or they pray, or the wrong thing gets praised.
Right, yeah. It's something is never, I don't know. It's hard to, I'm trying to find exact examples in my life. But that's a learned thing, right? You have to be okay of failing. You don't just start something and just expect it to always succeed. You kind of have to expect failure and be surprised sometimes by the success that you get.
Well, and a B is just as good as an A.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, and the level of effort that you put into something, and the hard work that you do is more important than the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So being a perfectionist, quit getting stuck on the big picture. So rather than thinking about the end product and where it needs to be right now, they just say, just do anything. Just do something to get started and get going. And stop thinking about the weight of where it needs to be at the very end. Which, again, I have a tendency to do that, especially if I have an idea for a big project and I'm like, oh, I don't even know how to get to that place at this point. How do you do that? So, now that we've talked about some of the reasons why we get stuck or we don't finish things that we start, I have some tips on how to get over that and how to finish the things that we start, because that is very important to me, especially this year, especially this summer, and I'm going to work really hard to finish 3 things. Just 3. Not going to make it crazy. Psychology Today has an article called 5 Ways to Finish What You Start. So, things that they suggest is to become aware of your pattern of starting and stopping. So, start thinking about, like, all of those things that you started but never finished. Why didn't you finish them?
Yeah.
Like, what were some of the reasons? Have you thought about why you didn't finish some of those things?
No.
Like, beyond, I guess, the fear of the stuff that we just
No,
about.
I mean, I could go through my Google Docs and kind of figure out, like, oh, here I stopped because I don't know how to write. Mm-hmm. Here I stopped because it's like, it was a group thing and it's kind of fallen off, or I just pick it up every once in a while. Most of the stuff, I stopped doing it. I kind of know why I stopped doing it. Mm-hmm. And it's never, there are a couple things I want to get back to, like, I want to start writing, which is something I've never been good at, but I feel like I have stories that I can tell, and so I want to just give it a shot.
Well, and not being good at something is not a reason to not do it anyway.
Right, exactly.
I could say not 4 more times. Not. Okay,
there we go.
Okay. Well, and that goes along with something they suggest too is research more deeply into the project before you begin working on it, so that you know what resources do you need to complete it. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to something like one of your games, you're pulling stuff from so many different places, and when you try and go get it printed, I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of different parts to this, so that could be, when you're working on a big project, part of why things get stalled is because there are just a lot of parts.
Yeah, there are.
And so researching ahead of time for the stuff that you need to finish it is a good way to help you actually finish it. And then making a timeline, because I never make personal timelines, or if I do, they're just jokes. It's kind of like a personal joke to myself, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna finish that next week. Ha ha ha. Yeah, right. Because I hate having deadlines, but
you hate it. It's the worst.
Deadlines are so good though for a lot of people, and they can be good for me. Do you work well with deadlines? I don't think we haven't really worked on anything together before, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've gotten better. The job I'm currently in actually does help me deal with that, being a little harder on things, because I'm not passive, but I'm not aggressive. But I've become more aggressive over the last 2 years or so with the job I've been doing. This has actually changed me quite a bit of how I approach people out in public, as well as like on the phone and things like that. But yeah, I'm doing better with deadlines. It's hard for me to set my own. Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to set me a deadline, or I have a piece of paper saying this is the deadline that you set, I'm good with it. Yeah. That's fine. I'll make that work. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's good.
I think I've just had such bad experiences with deadlines because they're always things that other people set for me. And I always just remember in high school, I think it was sophomore year, we had to make these books for a Shakespeare unit that we were working on. I don't remember the specifics about like quotes or like what these books were. Mm-hmm. But I just remember we had months to work on them, and I waited until the night before.
Oh, I love doing it.
Yeah,
it's so
but
good.
See, and that was the thing. I should have known I was setting myself like up for a lifetime of terrible disappointments when it comes to procrastination. But I was up until 3 a.m., 4 a.m., working on this book to turn in, which I think I got like a B or A or something on it.
Right, and it doesn't help you.
That was the first time, though, that I had procrastinated so much that it was really cutting into my sleep and other things doing, because I know I didn't work on anything else that night before, so no other homework got done. So I was doing like math homework at lunch and things like that. And that was the first time I'd ever done it. But the problem was I turned it in and I got a good grade. So
right, yeah.
That also just like set a bad example
yeah, 100%.
for the rest of it. So since then, I just procrastinated so much, especially in college, because of a fear of failure. My first semester, senior year of college, we had these French papers due as our final, and they were about some of the books that we had read that semester. I just didn't want to do mine because, the grammar, the vocabulary, I really was not putting any effort into studying at that point.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't even know what the stories were about. And so I procrastinated so much, and I had to get an extension, and then I ended up getting like a B- on the paper anyway. And so just these like bad experiences of timelines. But now in my job, if I don't meet a deadline, then we could get a fine from the court.
Ooh, yeah, that's not good.
I mean, I've gotten really good at meeting deadlines at work, but I still, when I think about setting a deadline for myself at home, I just think back to all of those other experiences, and I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to limit myself. I just want to take as much time as I want and work on something. But then here we are. I have like 40 things that I've started and have never finished. So I need to start practicing with timelines, I think, and making them into a positive experience instead of such a negative experience.
Yeah. Well, and
I don't even know what that would look like, though.
Well, I mean, it's also hard right now, I feel like, to set a deadline because we don't know day to day. Dealing with Perrin can be difficult. It can be, one day it's like, I really need to crack down and work on these quizzes that I've already done, but kind of going back through the material, doing blitz review, getting ready for certification tests, and it's like, oh, but you also need help because while I've been at work all day, you've been here and you've been the one caregiving for Perrin, and I'm the one that's kind of like, I'm coming home and it's like, there's stuff I want to do, but I also know that I have to help you out.
Yeah.
And so it ends up being like, by the time you get him settled in, usually about 10 o'clock at night is really when he starts settling down. It's, okay, I'm going to go into the other room. The door will be open. If you need me, yell for me or just text me or come and get me and stuff. And I'll just start back here. And then it's midnight, 1 a.m. And then it's spot sleeping for the rest of the night. And then get up, go to work. And it could be rough. You don't know what is going to be a good measure for an end date right now. We don't know when deadlines are good. Like, I have an arbitrary deadline in my head, but I also know it has to be a little bit flexible. But I also know it's time to wrap this shit up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't want to lose momentum on it.
Right.
Well, you have it. Yeah, so maybe instead of doing a timeline, and they also suggest like writing out a set of steps that you need to complete to finish the goal. Mm-hmm. So at least like right now, I'm following Anne Lamott's suggestion of like writing 300 words a day, which 300 words is not very much. It takes, usually like right now it's been taking me less than 10 minutes to write 300 words. But it's just the idea that you're still working on something every day. So, after 5 days, that's 1,500 words. That's a few pages. So take that and celebrate the stuff that you just did and know that if you keep doing it in another week, you'll have like another 1,500 words. Right. And, after a month of doing that, you'll have a large chunk of a new project started. Yeah. So that's, you're right. Like with him, I don't know what my day-to-day is going to look like, so I can't really say, oh, I'm going to spend 4 hours working on this thing. Right. Because that's not ever going to happen right now. But I can commit to small steps towards the larger goal. So that's what I'll do. That's what I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I mean, it's just, it's hard. Yeah. We've never had a kid before, so we don't, we're still figuring this out as well. Yeah. We're working on it, damn it.
That's our family motto, right?
It's like, we're working on it. Yeah, well, we don't make enough money. Yeah, we're working on it. You never know.
So entrepreneur has .com. I think it's also a magazine. It might be like a hard copy magazine. But they have an article that says, see it through, 5 steps to finishing what you start.
Okay. Let's hear these 5 steps.
So one of their steps is decide to finish.
Yes.
Which is one of those things where you're like, oh, that's a given. That seems stupid to put it on. But no, it actually, when I started thinking about it, it's like, no, if you decide that you're going to finish one thing, then something clicks in your brain and you start focusing it on a different way than I think maybe you thought about it before. Because it makes it just that much more serious. So you're like, yeah, this is the one thing I am going to finish. So you kind of cut out other things that are not going to help you finish that goal.
That makes sense.
So that, yeah. And then don't just finish, complete it. So make sure that you follow through on the project. And it will feel so good when it's done. Like, I remember when my thesis was done, finally, it did feel amazing to be like, yeah, I wrote those 120 pages that I ended up turning in for my final. I mean, there were more than that, but I cut out 30 pages or so.
Yeah.
And that was amazing to look back on that and think of all of the work that I put in, you know, like the year and a half that I spent working on it and researching and editing and just coming up with the ideas and meeting with my advisors and just going back through and line editing. And so that's one of those experiences, one of those few positive experiences that I have about finishing something on a deadline that I'm playing over and over again in my head to be like, I did finish something really big and really hard, and it was a thing that no one else cared if I finished because no one else cared if I went to grad school. Grad school would not have changed anything in my day-to-day job. But I did it because I wanted to do it, and that was important. And so I feel great about that.
You learned a lot about... Yeah, I mean, you learned a lot in your grad school stuff.
Right, but I'm saying grad school didn't help me with paralegal studies.
That's true.
It helps me with the technicalities of, like, the day-to-day work of the writing. The writing is easier for me than other people because I just have so much more experience writing. But, I mean, it's not... I didn't need to do it to get the job that I have.
Right.
So... Yeah, so it was almost like irrelevant to my life in a sense.
I don't know. You also... I feel like that's unfair. I feel like you're cheapening that experience that you had.
Well, no, I think any studies that you choose to do, technically, I think could be irrelevant to your life. You don't have to go to college, but most of us choose to go to college. You don't have to go to grad school, but a lot of people choose to go to grad school.
That's true.
You don't have, there are so many things that we don't have to do in our lives, but that we do, and...
You said do.
I think...
You said do.
Well, I did. And I think sometimes we confuse the things that we choose to do with things that we must do.
Right.
Because those aren't musts. Nothing that we do is a must. Per se.
Yeah.
But I just like thinking back on that thesis project and just feeling how proud I am that I did it and I completed it on time and that I have this thing that I can show.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I feel about college. Like, I did feel originally that I could use college to kind of get into what I want to do, which ultimately, if I were to pie in the sky job, it's be like a producer at a video game company. Like, I understand my limitations and how I'm in my mid-30s and I haven't been coding my entire life or drawing my entire life or doing stuff like that. So I understand my limitations there, but I feel like I could be a good manager of people. And so I'm trying to map that out. And for me, college, I'm still doing the same thing. Still working where I'm working, even after I finished getting my degree.
But you met people in that experience that helped you think about things in a different way.
That's very true, yeah.
So, kind of going back to the irrelevant, there are things that...
And having a degree opens up a couple things, yeah.
To get to where you are.
Yeah.
It's like looking back and saying, if I would have only gone to a college that was cheaper, then I wouldn't have all these fucking student loans. But then maybe I would have met you. Maybe I wouldn't have Perrin right now. Maybe I wouldn't have Remus. I mean,
I could be a chemist if I didn't fuck up at Purdue. I could be a chemist right now. But then I definitely would never have met you.
Yeah,
you know
you
where
probably
I
would have been miserable. So
possibly.
yeah, no more miserable than right now. So okay, almost done with the articles. This last one is from Inc.com, and the article is called 7 Procrastination Excuses and How to Defeat Them. Yeah, I like some of the excuses that they have too. I forgot to include
you're looking
these.
up excuses?
No. These are 7 excuses that people often use. I'm not going to do all 7. So one of them is, I can do that tomorrow, which, especially with having Perrin. Oh, bless you. Oh, are you sneeze? Bless you.
Little baby sneezes.
So especially with having a baby or having like any external thing in your life or any extracurricular, if you don't make time in your life for the project that you want to finish, you will never finish it.
Right. And that's why I've sacrificed sleep.
Yeah. And it's
sleep to finish the project.
And that's the thing, like, he won't be in this stage forever. It won't always be this hard. But at least, like, to me right now, it's important to get those 300 words in because I'm setting myself up for future success or future bad habits or good habits by doing it or not doing it, regardless of how I'm feeling or how tired I am. Yeah. So just making time for it, like, while he's napping. Yeah.
Oh, and I looked it up. So I went to look up how much, because I wrote during the middle of the night, was another idea of, like, another poker in the fire to figure out something for myself, and I eventually found the document, which was tough because I thought I was in a different area. But I ended up writing 500 words that night.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, I was doing it on my phone.
Hey, some people write whole novels on their phone, so don't knock it. Yeah, so finding that time to do it, you should feel really proud of yourself.
I am, because that's, to be honest, it's like the second time I've written in like 2 weeks. And each time has been, about 500 words or so, which is a vast improvement because I got shit knowledge out of high school of how to write properly. I've been doing a lot of technical writing lately, so that helps. But
to be fair, writing is, you teach the technicals, but you have to just do it.
Right, and that's what it's like.
It's practice.
Right. The more I write, the better I'm going to get at it. But the technical writing has taught me to really look at sentences to make sure that they make sense.
Yeah, no, that's important.
Because the whole point is to make sure where I work at doesn't get sued over what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Very important part.
And then returning to some of these ideas for large projects, it's too difficult to tackle it in one go. And yes, that seems to be true for most large projects. But that's why you break it down into small steps and small phases. Like, even the short story that I'm working on today, I know how it's going to end, but thinking about, oh my god, this short story, I'm going to have to finish it someday, does seem like a huge task to me right now. So when I was taking Perrin and Remus for a walk this afternoon, I was like, okay, this is what I have done already. What are the, next 3 major scenes that I need to write to get to the end? Like, what do I have left just to get to the end? And then I'll go back and fill in this blank spaces where, maybe I need more backstory or maybe I need something else. Mm-hmm. But that seemed to really help me because I know, like, when you came home at lunch, I was not in a very good mood.
No.
But thinking about like those next 3, just the next 3 scenes that I want to write made me feel energized when I got back, and I had planned to start writing. Now, I had to sidetrack because he was hungry.
Right,
So we ate. I was then hungry, so I had a snack. Then we were recording.
No, we're recording.
But I'm still excited to get a chance this evening when he goes to bed to, like, start working on one of those 3 scenes.
Yeah.
So I feel energized about it, and I don't feel like this is too big of a project anymore. And then there was one more. Yeah. I'm too tired or angry or sad or stressed. So, and this was something too that we talked about a lot in, like, workshops and other classes is, so especially with, like, creative art type projects, a lot of us have a tendency to be like, oh, well, I'm just not inspired today, so I'm not going to go do anything. Well, that's a terrible
way
to look at any project. because you'll never be in the mood to do something. You just have to do it anyway. And kind of like just sitting down and doing those 300 words a day, just sitting down and doing something or putting some effort or energy into that project, regardless of how you feel about it, will help you get into the habit of doing it. And being in the habit kind of unlocks your subconscious, and you don't have so many hang-ups eventually about doing something.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciated sometimes looking at these articles, because sometimes I just need to remind myself that yes, I do procrastinate, but no, I don't have to. And there are ways to get around it and strategies. And so always looking for whatever strategy is going to help me in whatever current situation I'm in. I like doing that.
Yeah.
So now I'll stop procrastinating by looking up procrastination articles and get down to work.
Right.
And meet my 3 goals by the time I go back to maternity leave.
There you go.
Right, Are we going to do that?
And of course, you know, anything you need, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I need a new car.
Well, we can't make that happen right
now.
now.
Okay.
Like maybe one of these irons. Maybe one of these irons in the fires will turn out okay. We can afford a car.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I get what you mean. Not just anything.
No.
Specific thing. Okay.
Yeah. No. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, support. Obviously. Me watching Perrin as best I can without being able to be the food bank. Can be a little difficult.
Yeah. Well, we'll work around it.
That's right.
So anyway, you know, regardless of whether you procrastinate or not, I hope this conversation just gave you some strategies that you can use in other ways in your life, whether personal or at your work, to kind of help you get over whatever obstacles you may have.
Right. And always remember that regardless of like what's going on in your life, like you can do it. And it's okay to succeed or to fail at this point, especially if it's just a side hustle. Like if you're just doing something to like learn, like I want to learn
how to do it.
Right. Like it's like I want to learn how to write more. I'm going to write more. I'll take an hour a day or every other day to figure out how to do it. But I'm going to apply that writing towards something very specific. A goal that I have, possibly one day. It's ranking number 3 or 4 on my list right now, which I need to go through and rank all of my projects so I know which one to do next. That's something I'm going to be...
some of those projects.
Yeah. You know, just kind of go through and like, okay, I know I need to do this. What's my next thing? Oh, I need to do this. Oh, okay. So like me, I got to finish my certificate. 2, I need to get this board game done and be done with it. Close all that out. Focus on other stuff. And then kind of work on from there, which we have other projects we've kind of got going on. So listing.
Which I had to make a bunch of lists yesterday just to try and get myself focused on like what I actually am doing right now, which helped. Such a list maker. Yeah. Anyway, that was our Brain Juice Podcast Self-Help Edition.
That's right.
Number 1.
And if you have anything that you want opinions on, if you're trying to do something out there and you want an opinion, whether it's qualified or not, which it's going to be unqualified if it comes from me, possibly qualified if it comes from Erin.
No.
Just, you know, hit us up with an email at thebrainjuicepodcast@gmail.com. You know, title it so that we know. I mean, obviously, we don't get a lot of email.
Yeah.
Nobody tell.
Do you procrastinate? Do you not procrastinate? If you don't procrastinate, how?
Yeah. But if you just honestly have something you need fresh eyes on, ask one of us. You know, we are willing to help you out regardless if it's qualified or not. And don't forget to...
Qualified.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, you are. You're more qualified than most people I know about writing. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't pay attention to her. But if you didn't know, this has been the Brain Juice Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us today. And don't forget to go to facebook.com/thebrainjuicepodcast and like our site there. You'll get all the juicy updates there. You can also follow us on the Brain Juice Podcast on Instagram. I will also do other things on there. I will show cute pictures of the baby, all that kind of stuff. So that's a lot of fun. If you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, don't forget to email us again. And what was I going to say? You did a hand signal, and I forgot what I was going to say. Shit.
Yeah, because you said the same thing like 3 times.
You be quiet. I'm still working on an outro.
I know. I'm just saying.
She gets on me so much.
Okay, so we're going to end it here.
No, there was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on whatever podcast service that you use. That's it. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.